Before there was mercy, there was pain. Before there was silence, there was the scream. The damp corridors of time, beneath the weight of stone and decree. Men were judged not by fairness, but by fire, rope, and iron. You're watching Medieval Grimspire Chronicles, where the past drips slow like candle wax, and history whispers through the dark. The iron hisses again. The branding rod is pulled from the coals, glowing white with silent fury. Rain falls now in earnest, a steady rhythm against the chapel roof, soaking cloaks, dripping from hoods, staining the earth where law and flesh are about to meet. Beneath the arch of a crumbling stone archway, the condemned man kneels, wrists bound in rough hemp that has already cut into skin. He does not cry, does not plead. His breath fogs the air. His gaze does not rise to the executioner, nor the priest, nor the watching crowd. It stays fixed on the candles behind the church windows, thin, flickering, unreachable. The silence is almost holy. This is England, the year of our Lord, 1285. The land is ruled not only by kings, but by codes older than memory, deeper than reason. To err is human, to suffer, divine decree. In this age, justice is not a courtroom, it is a courtyard. It is the weight of rope, the heat of iron, the cold of judgment. Here, punishment is not hidden, it is displayed, like relics in a reliquary. Hand to the body, broken or burned, becomes its own scripture. The man kneeling once stole a horse. It was not hunger that drove him, but fear. Fear of debt, of failing his kin, of becoming invisible in a world where land was lineage and labor was legacy. But the law did not ask why, it asked only if. And now it answers not with words, but with fire. The executioner's face is unseen, his hands gloved. The brand is shaped like a horse's hoof, curved and simple, though its meaning will last far longer than the pain. He steps forward. The priest mutters a final prayer, not for mercy, but for formality. Justice must wear its rituals like a crown. The moment slows. The rain pauses in the mind, though it still falls on skin. The crowd breathes in, and then the hiss. His flesh meets iron. The man jerks once, violently, a cry caught between his ribs and teeth. Steam rises like incense in a holy mass. The scent of burning skin mingles with wet wool and wood smoke. A mother shields her daughter's eyes. Too late, the girl has already seen. She grips her mother's hand tighter. Small knuckles white with the strain of understanding something too soon, that the world punishes not just the wicked, but the weak, the unlucky, the marked. The man slumps forward, his breath ragged. The brand is lifted, its work complete. But the pain has just begun. A scar is born where identity ends. He will carry it into every tavern, every town, every dream. And when he dies, perhaps a priest would trace that mark and wonder not who he was, but what he did. That is the cruel inheritance of branded flesh. The rain grows heavier. Mud pools beneath the scaffold. The priest steps back. The executioner turns, and from the bell tower above the chapel, the first peal rings out, low, somber, final. This is not for the man, but for the act. A bell for justice, not mercy. The villagers begin to murmur, shifting under wet cloaks, eager to return to hearth and bread and the safety of stories told behind closed doors. But before they do, they cast one last glance at the man still, kneeling, steam curling from his shoulder, at the girl still staring, at the world that allows such things in daylight. One farmer spits in the mud, another crosses himself. A beggar mutters, "Could be me," and no one answers, 'cause it could. That is the lesson in the distance. Another bell tolls, not from the chapel, but from the manor on the hill, a reminder that power watches, even when unseen. A lord who passed the sentence will dine tonight beside a roaring hearth, unaware or unbothered by the tears shed in shadow. His parchment held the man's fate. His seal turned flesh to symbol. The branded man is lifted by 2 guards, his legs barely obeying him. He is taken to a cart, slumped like grain, covered not with dignity, but a fraying woolen cloth. He does not speak. He does not weep. He only breathes, and each breath is a defiance. The girl, still clutching her mother's hand, watches as the cart wheels away. Something inside her has shifted. She will remember the smell, the sound, the steam. One day, she will whisper it to another, and so the punishment continues, not in the man, but in the memory. The sky does not clear. The bell tolls again, somewhere nearby, in a chapel side room. The executioner washes the brand in a basin of wine and ashes. He does not pray. His hands move with practiced calm. This was not the first brand. It will not be the last. Each mark is different, yet the same. Each pain familiar. Each silence sacred. Punishment in the medieval world was not born of chaos, but order, a twisted order where wounds became warnings and pain was a public vow. The thief is gone now, but his scar remains in every eye that saw it, in every child that dreamed of fire that night. And so we turn the page, not forward, but deeper, to a place where justice hides underground, where darkness becomes its own courtroom, where pain no longer needs witnesses. The next punishment awaits, not in light, but in stone, in the silence. There, it's even louder. The torch flickers low, its flame dancing against the cold breath of the earth. Below the chapel, beyond the view of any god or man, the corridor winds downward into silence, grows in the cracks between stone slabs. The air is wet, thick with the rot of centuries. It tastes of rust and salt and something more ancient. The scent of memory left too long in darkness. 2 guards descend, each step echoing like a drumbeat against the tomb-like walls. Between them, a prisoner stumbles. His hands are manacled, his legs too weak to steady him. He falls. They do not stop. The chain between his wrists scrapes against the stone. His breath rattles in his throat. Its name is no longer spoken aloud. There is no crowd here, no bell, no sermon. This punishment hides itself, veiled in secrecy. For the crime was treason, or what the Lord deemed close enough to it. The man spoke too freely in a tavern near the castle. A jest about taxes, a word about rebellion, enough to be remembered, enough to be erased. They pass under an iron grate, its bars slick with damp. A rat skitters across their path, unfazed by suffering. The tunnel opens into a chamber, narrow, round, windowless. A single hook hangs from the ceiling. Chains clink softly in the shadows. Against a far wall, a board leans at an angle, stained with the dark imprint of countless backs and limbs. The guards pause. One removes the chain from his belt. The other ties the man's wrists behind him. This is the oubliette. The French word means to forget. But here, forgetting is a lie. The stone remembers. Every cry, every name, every prayer is absorbed into its cold embrace. There is no fire here, no spectacle, only time, weight, and the slow dismantling of the self. The man is forced to his knees. A blindfold is tied around his eyes, not to spare him from horror, but to deepen it. In darkness, every sound grows teeth. Every silence becomes a sentence. They leave him there. No words, no explanation. It's just the creak of the iron door and its slow, final echo down the corridor. The first night, he calls out, first in anger, then in pleading, then in something quieter, something cracked. The stone does not answer. The cold wraps around him like a second skin. He dreams of warmth, of bread, of the laughter of his daughter. But each time he awakens, the chamber swallows it whole. Water drips from the ceiling, falls on his brow, like the hand of a priest. But there is no blessing here. On the second day, a wooden bowl is shoved through a slit in the door. Gruel, barely warm. A crust of bread, harder than bone. He eats in silence. To speak feels sacrilegious. On the third day, the light changes. It is not brighter, only thinner, more fragile. He has not stood since they left him. His muscles twitch from disuse. His throat is sore, not from shouting, but from holding. In the words that no one will hear, he begins to mutter psalms. He forgets their endings. He fills the gaps with his own inventions. Somewhere above, in the castle halls, nobles feast. They speak of law and peace and lineage, unaware or unmoved by the man dissolving below their feet. Justice, they say, is being served. But justice, down here, has no voice. By the fourth day, the prisoner begins to name the stones. The one beside his foot, he calls father. The one near his head, daughter. He speaks to them softly. He weeps when they do not answer, but he curses them when they remain still. And yet, he does not stop speaking, for silence is too large, too loud. It threatens to fill him until nothing remains. Time becomes a thing without shape. His beard grows, his thoughts blur. He forgets the sound of his own name. He remembers a song from his youth, a spring melody sung during planting. He sings it now, but the lyrics bend strangely. He inserts the names of saints he does not believe in. Then comes the voice, not from the walls, nor from the door. It rises inside him, quiet, patient, terrible. It speaks not in language, but in feeling. It asks nothing, it only waits. And he realizes this voice is not new. It has always been there. It belongs to the stone. He begins to whisper secrets. To it, of debts unpaid, of a brother he once struck in anger, of a prayer he faked at his mother's grave. The stone listens. The stone forgives nothing, but in speaking, something shifts. He is no longer afraid of death. He is afraid of being remembered like this, as a man who broke, alone, unseen. By the 8th day, he hears footsteps. They do not come for him. They pass his door. They stop. Then silence. Perhaps it was only a rat. Perhaps it was hope. Bowl comes again. This time, the bread is fresh. It crumbles easily. Mercy or a mistake. Either way, he eats with shaking hands, as if the food might vanish if not consumed quickly enough. He begins to mark the hours by the drip of water from the ceiling. The rhythm becomes sacred. It is the only thing that does not lie. He whispers to it too. He calls it God. And then, one morning, or what he assumes is morning, the door opens. Light floods in, and he recoils. His eyes scream against it. He raises his hand, but forgets that it is chained. The guards enter. They say nothing. They lift him gently, as if he were glass. He cannot stand. He cannot speak. He has forgotten how. They do not beat him. They do not explain. They simply carry him out. As they rise from the tunnel, up into the warmth of the courtyard, the world opens around him. The sky is gray, yet beautiful. The wind touches his face, and it feels like forgiveness. He is placed in the back of a cart. His manacles are removed. A priest stands beside him, murmuring a prayer, not of release, but of reintegration. That he will return to the village. He will be watched. He will not speak of what he saw, but the stone will speak through him, in his gait, in his eyes, in his silence. And as the cart wheels away, a boy along the roadside stares at the man who no longer blinks. The boy asks his mother, "What did he do?" She does not answer. She only shushes him and pulls him away. but the boy will remember the eyes and the silence, okay? And the wind that came just after. And so the story continues, not in dungeons, but in open air. Not with chains, but with stairs. The next punishment awaits, not behind walls, but before the flame, where the cries are not silenced, they are sung. It begins with song, not the kind sung by choirs, nor the gentle humming of monks in morning light, but a song choked by smoke, shrill with terror, and tuned to the rhythm of crackling wood. It rises from the center of the square like incense, gone wrong like a prayer that will not be answered. This is not melody. It is testimony. It is the sound a soul makes when forced to choose between silence and agony. The pyre has been stacked carefully, fresh pine logs at the base for quick ignition. Aim. Poke atop to delay the end. The rope used to bind the woman's wrists has been braided with straw to catch the spark and burn quickly. There is precision in this act. Ceremony, it is not merely punishment, it is performance. She stands barefoot on the platform. Her eyes are dry. Her hands do not tremble. The crowd gathered below is hushed, not out of reverence, but suspense. They have come to witness the extinguishing of a heretic, or a healer, or a widow who sang two birds and spoke too clearly to the wrong man at the wrong hour. A truth no longer matters, only accusation. The bishop steps forward, his robe wet from morning mist. He reads from the parchment with deliberate tone, words older than the stones that surround them. By order of the holy tribunal, for sins of sorcery, for bewitching the minds of men. The wind lifts the edge of the paper as if to object. He presses it flat and continues. The woman closes her eyes. She is not afraid of pain. She has known it in childbirth, in hunger, in the cold that lives behind cottage doors during long winters. What she fears is how they will remember her, not as a mother, not as a sister, but as this, a column of smoke. She does not scream when the fire begins. The flames catch quickly, greedy with their hunger. The crowd leans forward as if watching a sermon unfold. Children are held aloft on shoulders. Merchants clutch their wares tighter. A dog barks once, then falls silent. A key rises like black snow. The woman's hair burns first, turning her into a silhouette crowned with flame dot in the front row. A man grips the hilt of his belt. His eyes do not leave hers. He was the one who named her. His voice was calm when he did it, as if describing weather. Keen, she meets his gaze through the smoke. She does not curse him. She does not plead. She simply looks. And that, somehow, is worse, because the fire does not lie. It shows all things. It strips away guilt and innocence alike. What is left is raw bone, scream, truth. A boy in the crowd turns his face away. His mother turns it back. You must see, she whispers. You must never forget. This, too, is a lesson in the Middle Ages. Heresy was not just belief, it was betrayal. It was rebellion against the fabric that held the village, the kingdom, the soul together. To think outside the doctrine was to unravel the divine order. And so fire was a tool not just of punishment, but purification. As the woman's legs buckle, a priest begins to chant. Latin phrases mingle with smoke, rise into the heavens with the ash. But no birds fly above the square. Even nature turns its face. Her scream comes late, not from pain, but from breath gone wrong. Smoke stills the windpipe before the fire reaches the lungs. Her final sound is not a cry, but a gasp, sharp and short, like the breaking of a twig. Her body convulses, once, then stills, but the fire continues. Fire does not wait for death to finish its work. The man who named her steps back into the crowd. Heat touches the crucifix at his neck. His lips move. He will tell himself, this was justice. He will tell others, it was law. But tonight, when sleep comes for him, it will bring the sound of her breathing, that last gasp, and it will come again, and again, and again. 1 hour later, the fire is still alive. It does not burn as high. Coals in the pit, red and sullen. A boy sneaks close, stares at the blackened remnants, the bones that now poke from charred cloth. He cannot look away. His sister tugs at his sleeve. "Come," she says. "The market is open." But he stays, because something in him knows. This is more than punishment. This is story. This is seed. And seeds, even in ash, find ways to grow. Across the square, a minstrel sits on the steps of a shuttered shop. He plucks a single note on a lute, then another. No one listens, not yet, but the melody takes shape. Low, minor, slow. It carries the weight of the smoke. It holds the silence left behind. And in the tavern that night, someone will hum it. Woman will close her eyes when she hears it. K. A man will raise his cup and not drink. K. And the song, the one sung by fire, will begin to pass, not on parchment, but through breath. History is not kept in scrolls alone. It hides in melody, in glances, in nightmares. The square will be swept, the ashes scattered, but the fire, the real fire, will remain. And somewhere in the village miles away, another woman will speak a little softer. Another healer will bury her herbs. Another girl will ask, "Why can't I sing that song?" And her mother will not answer, because the answer is still smoldering in the stones. The chapter closes with a hush, a square washed clean by rain, a rope forgotten on the platform, single crow circling once, then vanishing into mist. But just beyond that mist lies the next place, where justice is neither fire nor stone, but hunger, where law takes its toll not on body, but on bone. The wind moves like a blade across the heath, slicing through threadbare cloaks, biting at hollow cheeks. Winter has come early to the village of Linton, not by snow, but by silence. The fields are empty, the granaries echo, and on the doors of every cottage, chalk marks bloom like frost, symbols of ration, of debt, of guilt. Hunger in this place is not misfortune. It is crime. A child kneels beside the path, clutching a crust of stolen bread. His hands tremble, not from cold, but from shame. Behind him, the baker's wife stands stiffly, lips pressed to a single word: justice. Round him, neighbors watch from behind shutters, their breath fogging the glass, their thoughts louder than their silence. In the eyes of the manor, to steal is to sin. Hunger is no excuse. Grain belongs to those who tithe. And punishment must not only correct, it must remind. So the boy is not beaten, not imprisoned. Instead, he is chosen for the stocks. They dragged a wooden frame from beneath the chapel steps, old, splintered, stained by the memories of mounds long silenced. The boy is lifted into place, his neck and wrists enclosed in the rough embrace of the law. No words are spoken, no sentence read. The stocks speak for themselves. He will stay until sundown. 3 days, rain or shine. Food, if offered, must come from those willing to be seen. Mercy, like crime, is dangerous here. At first, he cries, quietly, then louder. But by nightfall, the tears freeze on his cheeks, and his eyes dull with something deeper than fear resignation. He does not expect rescue. He has learned too early that justice does not bend for the small dot. His sister comes on the second morning. She brings him a turnip wrapped in cloth. She does not speak. Her face is flushed with risk. To aid a criminal is to risk judgment, but she cannot help it. She was there when he took the bread, not for himself, but for her. She still carries the warmth of that crust in her belly, a warmth now bitter. Villagers pass. Some look away, others spit. One man throws a stone that misses, then another that does not. The boy does not flinch. Hunger is heavier than bruises. By midday, the priest arrives. He speaks a prayer, not for the boy, but for order, for the kingdom, for the divine design that keeps bread in some mouths and not in others. He lays his hand on the stalks as if blessing them, then walks away, robes untouched by mud, guilt untouched by truth. The boy dreams that night of a world where food grows from stone and no one watches you eat. He dreams of fields without fences, of ovens that never cool. Even in his sleep, he hears the wooden creak of the stocks, the laughter of boys his age who now throw words instead of stones. In the distance, the manor feasts, roasted meats, warm cider, bread enough to waste. A fire roars in the hearth while hounds gnaw on bones larger than the boy's arm. They speak of tax, of weather, of a new gate to be built, of a neighbor hanged last week for poaching. They do not speak of the boy. He is not part of their table, but he is part of their world. His suffering is the mortar that binds their comfort. They do not need to see him. His pain is a whisper that keeps their laws loud. On the third day, the wind shifts, snow threatens, the stalks creak louder. The boy no longer cries. He watches the sky with a stillness not taught, but inherited. A stillness bred in generations, who learned long ago that to feel too much was to break too soon. He begins to hum a tune his mother sang when they had bread, when they had laughter. The melody carries softly through the square. A young man, a blacksmith's apprentice, hears it and pauses. He knows the song. He remembers when the boy's father worked the fields beside his own. He remembers when they were both fed. That night, he brings a blanket. He waits until the square is empty, save for the silent outline of justice. He wraps the boy in it gently, as if covering a flame. He says nothing. He only nods once, then disappears back into shadow. The next morning, the stocks are opened. The boy's arms fall limp. His legs fail him, but he does not fall. Two women help him stand. One is the baker's wife, the other the midwife who saw him born. No words pass, only touch, only breath. He walks slowly from the square, blankets still clutched to his shoulders like a crown made of thread. He does not turn to look back at the stocks, but others do. They whisper of cruelty, of justice, of hunger, and they begin to wonder, when does punishment stop being law and start being fear? That winter, 3 more are placed in the stocks. A woman for gleaning too early, a man for failing to pay the tithe, a child for hoarding chestnuts. The punishment becomes familiar, the silence more dangerous than the sin. But one night, someone cuts the stocks loose, splits the wood with a hidden axe, leaves the pieces beneath the chapel steps. No one confesses. No one is blamed, but the message is clear. There are laws that protect bread, and laws that break people, and sometimes they are not the same. The next morning, the Lord orders the stocks rebuilt, but the wood is green and does not hold. Rain rots the frame, a hinge rusts shut, and no one hurries to repair it. The boy, now walking again, returns to the square. He stands beside the ruins. He says nothing, but he hums that tune once more. And this time, others join him. Justice, once cold and wooden, begins to shift, slowly, quietly, like thaw after deep frost, and beyond the hills. In a prison of stone, a voice speaks a warning, not through flame, not through hunger, but through silence shaped like prayer. Because in the next place, there are no stocks, only walls, and what lives behind them.